You have to be a drug abusing commie to also be gay. They all go together.
That's how I got here.
Be gay and do communism.
And drugs. Do communism drugs.
Communal drugs.
How did we get here? Where are we?
We're off the rails again. Whoa.
Honey, I'm home.
Hi, I'm the baby, brand new, just out. Gotta love me. Come on, gotta love me.
Welcome back to Midnight Local, everybody. Is that too much energy to open an episode?
No, I think it's great. I like energy.
Okay, let's do it
Yeah.
once more with feeling. Welcome back to Midnight Local, everybody. This is Greg and Mare. We're shooting the shit and talk about flicks. We're talking about the pilot of ABC's sitcom Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs. Sitcom. Yeah, I guess it is a sitcom.
It's a situational comedy with puppets. Did you watch Dinosaurs growing up?
I did. Yeah, I did.
I remember
This is one.
wanting to watch it, but never catching it. But I also remember it being a big deal. I remember the Gotta Love Me song being kind of like a meme, a viral sensation.
It was like every schoolyard of our generation was, I'm the baby, gotta love me, or not the mama, not the mama.
Not the mama, not the mama, not the mama, not the mama.
Let's set it up. Dinosaurs, Jim Henson produced, son, Brian Henson produced, I guess. Jim Henson developed.
Michael Jacobs Productions is in there. Do you know, like, that card to me is like every TV show of my childhood. I looked it up. It's really just like Boy Meets World.
Okay.
But for some reason, I thought Michael Jacobs like made every show when I was a kid.
What was the one that, with the guy typing and then they threw the paper over his head and it like... That was the one I always think about. Okay, so it's 1990? What year did this show?
91.
91 it came out. Jim Henson developed it. I don't know what Michael Jacobs did, but Jim died. And his son, Brian, actually headed the show and took it to air. Apparently Henson had been working on it since 88, and it didn't happen until 91. Ran for 4 seasons, 23-minute episodes. There's like 90 episodes or something. 65 episodes in 4 seasons because we actually used to...
Make full seasons of
We
television.
used to be a country, as they say. We used to be a people. All puppets, all animatronics, all the time. This is insane. Insane. They're dinosaurs, but they're people. Why?
They're people inside of dinosaurs.
To some extent, yeah, but I think that honestly there's a lot of it where there's
Why?
nobody in there.
Why?
You know, maybe a hand, maybe just some servos.
Yeah, the smaller creatures for sure, but your lead characters, I think, there's got to be a BTS video on this thing
Lots, I'm
somewhere.
sure. Why though? Why do we need a dinosaur family? That's what I want to know. What was Jim Henson thinking that the world needs a dinosaur family on TV?
Well, why do you need an animated family? Why do you need the Simpsons? Why do you need
It's a great question.
the Flintstones?
great
Why do
question.
you need I think, he's the puppet guy. He's known for
Yeah,
this. So
he just likes dinosaurs.
well, and there's a darkness to this show,
Oh,
and
a
there's
lot.
like a pending doom that I think them being dinosaurs is the whole point of.
Yes.
Like, you always know, like the very first line of the show is a meteor 3 times the size of Earth.
A meteor 3 times the size of Earth is heading towards us in a collision course that will result in the extinction of all life on this planet. This just in? No, it's not.
And like that is the tone of the show in that first line. It's dark.
I also think
feel
too,
like-
I could imagine. So one, Jim Henson being dark, he is. And if you want to have proof of that, go look at his short film Timepiece, which is not with puppets. It's like, and it's in the moment and stuff like that. It was like an award-winning short. It's just weird. It's real like cut up technique, William S. Burroughs, like drug-induced weirdness that and it's really well done. It's wonderful. It's about how much time there is in your life. Timepiece. There's some other stuff he did with like a witch on some TV show that was really weird, like the 7th Avenue Playhouse or whatever it was on NBC. There was like a anthology show. So yeah, he is dark. 2, maybe they were sitting around and just being like, because like the show is very Ozzie and Harriet. The show is very Father Knows Best. It's very, it's a sitcom in like the 50s sense. Like we were saying before, I think that it feels like, to you, right? Does it feel like the Flintstones?
No, actually, this was a question that I wanted to pose to you is like, do you ascribe like a 90s sitcom that it feels like it's mimicking? And it was, you said Flintstones.
Yeah.
For me, it was Family Matters.
There's a lot of that in there too. Yeah.
I don't know. Is his name Carl? Is the main?
No, he's Earl.
Earl.
Earl
Okay,
Sinclair.
so there's Earl. It's Carl in Family Matters, and I don't know why that is, but every time I watch the show, I feel like I'm watching a version of Family Matters.
I get that.
For Ray, it was Married with Children. I asked the same question.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think like it's just totally different.
I definitely don't get Married with Children.
Well, I'm just curious if like for people out there in the internet world, like if you watched the show as a kid, did you have that same sort of like connecting it to another show? Because I can't. On the flip side, I can't think of any other show I do this with. Like I don't think of the Simpsons and like connect it to something live action.
Yeah. Well,
it's just the show.
I think that like a key difference here between those other shows, if I may defend my Flintstones position, and I'm going to elaborate, and I will elaborate, is that we see Earl at work, and he has a blue collar job. You basically never see Carl Winslow at work in Family Matters.
You just know he's a cop.
You know he goes to work, and I think there's a couple of times that it happens, but like as far as like workplace drama is a part of Dinosaurs, as it was on The Simpsons. He does not yet in the pilot have a sidekick, a Barney Rubble, but I suspect something like that is coming.
He does, yeah. There's a guy at work that, yeah.
Okay. As far as it not being Married with Children is a really weird and specific dynamic. It's about a man who has no control over his destiny or his family and who hates everything about it. His kids are delinquents. His wife is real horny and he's not for some reason.
Yeah.
So well, I cannot relate to this man, by the way.
upon further, none of these feelings were upon further inspection.
Okay.
It was just like this is what you were thinking of while you were watching the show.
But what I want to say about the Flintstones is that the Flintstones is the Honeymooners. It's the same show. It's if it is a reference, if it does feel like the Flintstones, and I'm not alone in that. If I'm not, and it is referencing the Flintstones, and the Flintstones is a reference to the Honeymooners, then yeah, this is going all the way back to like the birth of the 3-camera sitcom and I Love Lucy and stuff in that. And I do wonder too, like Dinosaurs, why Dinosaurs? I can imagine Henson and whomever was in the room when they were kicking it around, talking about, you know, boomer TV, not like the TV that was on when they were kids or when their parents were kids, and being like, oh, those fucking dinosaurs as they pass the joint, and like, yeah, they're really dinosaurs, like, and that's where it comes from, you know, like the way you used to talk about the people, you know, those people who voted for Eisenhower, those dinosaurs, you know,
those dinosaurs. I always thought that there was like a futility to it that like you get knowing that you're watching, even though it could be a span of millions of years, like from the get you are watching creatures that did not survive, so everything that they do seems sort of like
futile. Why?
Yeah.
What's the point?
Which is like, I think the commentary on us.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
and
you will be these dinosaurs someday,
and Jim Henson,
no matter what.
100% would have been about that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
From what I know about his work. Yeah. He had that sardonic, is that correct? That darkness in him, you know, that gallows humor. Obviously it doesn't come out in all of his children's programming.
No, not all of it. But I'm sure if you really looked, if you were very familiar with his work, you would see it everywhere. Yeah.
Movie show. Show opens in 60 million BC, set in Pangea. Centers on the Sinclair family with Earl Sneed Sinclair. I love his middle name is Sneed. Apparently it's his mother's maiden name or something, which I think is so funny. So here's something. Do you know why they're the Sinclair family?
No.
Because of Sinclair Oil, whose logo was a dinosaur. And other characters' family names throughout the series are rivals to other petroleum companies. There's a Phillips, there's a Hess, there's a BP, there's a Richfield, there's an Ethel, because they're going to turn into oil.
Isn't that fun? See, it's all in there from the first line of the show. The names, like the demise is a part of the show.
Yep. Earl is a tree pusher. He knocks down trees for the We Say So Corporation, which is such a great name. He does have a friend and coworker, Roy Hess. Yeah, Hess.
That's who he's around through the show.
And he works for Bradley P. Richfield. He's got 2 kids who are teens and a unexpected baby who showed up late.
Yes.
Because I guess Earl didn't go and get his vasectomy. He's probably just dragging his feet about it like I am. They didn't seem to want that baby, but they got it.
They got it.
He was even saying in that episode, we meet the baby and he tells the baby the story of how the baby came to be. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was like, I'm just about to get rid of these kids. Like, is alive.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, no, he's like trapped in this cycle yet again. It's
done
very
raising
depressing.
kids. God damn it.
I think, like, yeah, I have memories of watching this show as a kid, but I also didn't like, I remember not liking it. Like, I when I went to revisit it, like, there's just a darkness to the show. There's a like commentary on humanity that as a kid I like really didn't want to see.
The voters of this nation are presented with a choice between a monstrous, bloodthirsty psychopath and a self-confessed brain-dead ignoramus.
Help me, please.
What will future generations think of us? That we cannot present the public with better alternatives than these.
Well, you say darkness, and you're talking figuratively, but one of the things I noted is literally, like, the show seems underlit. It's visually darker than I think it should be, and I feel like that actually is, you may not put your finger on it, but like it puts you away. It puts you off a little bit. Like, why can't I see all of this? It feels like you're looking through a hazy filter. And I imagine a big part of that is hiding puppeteers and hiding wires and hiding animatronic parts and stuff like that.
Yeah. But just like the first episode is like, it's a nightmare version of a relationship to me. It's like the hellscape of straight relationships. I'm like, maybe the dinosaurs made me gay.
It's the hellscape of sitcom straight relationships. It's a stupid sitcom.
They've come out recently, it sounds like, of the jungle, like the dinosaurs as a whole, to become civil.
What I think is really interesting
is society.
He says flat out that there are some dinosaurs who have remained wild.
Who have remained, yeah, right. And so,
isn't that weird?
Upon finding out he has this child, he's like, maybe not being wild was a mistake. Yeah. I'm gonna go back there. And
the internet was a mistake, and he finds out he's soft. He can't sleep in the woods, and he hates it.
And he loves his wife's cooking.
And he loves his wife's cooking, and he loves his wife.
Was that dinner? Did dinner just run out of here through my legs?
They've got these new pots and pans with creature screams. If you love me, you'll get them for me. Do you love me?
There's nothing in here. There's no dinner. There's no vegetables.
Dinner ate the vegetables. You really should ask me about my day, Earl.
Look, Fran, I say this with all love and everything, but I don't give a damn about your day.
Ask me about my day.
Francis, nothing that happened in your little day has any impact on how I'm going to live the rest of my life.
Oh, yeah?
You guys don't bicker?
No, we do.
You have no friendly bickering? That's not a thing in the lady world?
I think it's less that. It's more like her position in the family, the way he talks to her, like... I don't like it. That's
what I'm saying. It's honeymooners too.
Yeah, right.
And it is like, they are throwbacks. They're dinosaurs.
Right. It's kind of this feeling of like life's going to be miserable, but like it's better than the alternative. It's just like, oh no.
Ain't that
I don't
the
want to
truth,
believe
though?
that. Maybe, I don't know. It's not been my reality, I suppose.
Do you need a mental health check? You're saying it's not better than the alternative? Oh, you're dismissing the.
It's not miserable. I'm not miserable. So
I'm not miserable. There's a lot of work.
Yeah.
To do. Sometimes I'm tired.
Yeah. No, all those things are true, but they seem really unhappy. Him in particular.
In the pilot, he seems to be going through. I mean, he's going through a kind of a crisis, though, isn't he? Finding out you're stuck being a dad again after you were done being a dad, man. Oy, that might be a lot.
Yeah, it's only tough for him.
That's the focus of the show. You're right. Obviously, it's tough for everybody. But, it's a show about the breadwinner. He's out there pushing those trees. He tries to get a raise. Honestly, that went back and forth. I was like, wait, did he get the raise? I genuinely came out of that scene not knowing if he got that raise or not.
Not only did he not, he got to choose if he stayed at the same rate or lost his job entirely. I think that was like the choice that he had. And then it turns out that their dinner from the night before ends up being like his boss.
But his boss, because he saved his dinner, his boss now is sort of an ally in the company who will be kind of looking out for him. Because his boss gets him a raise. The animal gets him a raise. That's right. It was like almost nothing, but it was a raise, and he wasn't unhappy about it. So we don't know what the value of a dollar is in their setting. So like, I think it was like jokingly small, but maybe that's not as small as it sounds. Maybe
he made a joke about it being small. I think it was pretty
imperceptible. They described it as
that's what he called it, imperceptible raise. Yeah. And I know there are some episodes as it goes further down the series where like shit gets really real on this show.
Oh yeah,
and
they did a whole.
Yeah.
I vividly remember there's a whole arc about that was like a riff on the Gulf War, and I do know how it ends. Everybody knows how the final episode ends because it's like an internet meme.
And taking a look at the long-range forecast, continued snow, darkness, and extreme cold. This is Howard Handupme. Good night. Goodbye.
You want to talk about some interesting voices that are in it that you may have recognized?
Yeah, I was just pulling that up.
So the lady, the wife, I forget her character's name. Fran, voiced by Jessica Waters.
Jessica Walters.
Jessica Walter. Waters is a different person. You may recognize her from Arrested Development.
Yep.
And also his daughter is Sally Struthers.
Incredible.
Just nobody could be more typecast. Like, just, I'm going to play the daughter forever. Like, you're too old to do the job. We're going to put her in a dinosaur. Stick her in that dinosaur.
The daughter is just like etched in my memory as like moving like this.
Yeah. One thing that's interesting is that they're all different dinosaurs, which I'm fine.
Yes. So I wrote down species blind casting.
Yeah, absolutely the blindest of casting. And not blind, actually, intentional. It's intentional because he is a megalodon. He's not a megalodon playing, or sorry, what is he? A megalosaurus? He is a megalosaurus. He comes up a couple times. He's not something other than a megalosaurus playing a megalosaurus. That would be blind because we don't see, right? Isn't that right? I think I'm right on that. I'm old.
Well, so I don't know how cross-speciesism would work in this case.
Maybe he's not a megalosaurus.
If he made it,
maybe
like,
he's just saying he's a megalosaurus. Maybe they're all megalosauruses.
But like the children are not what you would imagine would be the result of the two of them mating.
No, absolutely
so
not.
that's where
she's a fucking triceratops.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that mom's an iguanodon.
Did you notice at some point they have got a T-Rex standing around when they're like at the workplace and he's holding a cigarette?
No, I didn't see that.
And
That's
there's
great.
no way his arm could possibly ever reach his mouth.
I remember also that in some episodes, Fran has like a neighbor lady friend who's a feminist. She's a militant feminist, and she's a brontosaurus. She's a huge head and neck that comes in through the window. I remember that. Yes, yeah. Don't worry, Meredith. We're gonna get there. We're gonna poke holes all over this Ozzie and Harriet lifestyle because that's the whole thing. It genuinely is satire.
I do think so. Yeah, and I remember. I think probably the setup is pretty dark, and then I think it probably unravels as it goes. But I mean, this show is 100% not for the kids. But like, my mom never watched it. I was the one sitting in front of it.
What grown-up? Jim had
watched any of this.
He had some very falutin ideas that he was going to convince grown-ups to watch a lot of puppets. He convinced grown-ups who grew up with his puppets to watch a lot of puppets.
Or was the idea that like your kids are going to watch kids shows, so I'm going to create the stuff that if you're stuck in the room watching a kids show with your kid, you're going to enjoy. That's
what Walt said he was doing with Disney World, with Disneyland. He was trying to make rides that the parents could ride with the kids instead of just watching them on the rides. Success is huge success. I do love the whole thing with the food, with like she wanted pots and pans that had cages on them.
That was the infomercial, so it couldn't get out of the pot.
Yeah. They're horrifying. They're fucking dinosaurs. They don't shy away from the fact that these are monsters.
Yeah. Well, and her food, it's kind of like a game. He's like watching this, like, you need that, and like running around the house.
Oh God, I hate that baby. When I was a kid, I loved that baby, but it's like, so I'm the baby. It's so darn cute. But like now I see that that's a commentary on the use of the baby in the sitcom. Like, so, that was my question. Is this a sitcom for dinosaurs? And by that I mean we're watching a sitcom, but are we supposed to believe that the crew and the cast is all the crew are dinosaurs and this is being broadcast to dinosaurs? Is there a meta element here that could be revealed in some later episode? Is Earl Sinclair a character being played by another dinosaur? Because we're just talking about the blind casting. That's what made me think of it. Like, Mickey Mouse is often an actor playing another character, as is
right. We go behind the scenes, right?
Is it that?
We have to watch more to find out.
Kermit the Frog sometimes plays a reporter on Sesame Street. He's portraying that
Miss
character.
Piggy is always performing a character.
Yeah, but I mean, presumably not when they're backstage, but maybe even that's for our benefit. What is the world of Muppets like? I actually had an idea for a role-playing game. Like I had some ideas for a pen and paper tabletop role-playing game rule set about playing Muppets, your Muppets in a world partially populated by humans and Muppets. And there were different kinds of Muppets, like different classes. Like there were Chaos Muppets, there were Reason Muppets. Anyway,
That'd be a fun
I
setting.
tweeted about that on Twitter, and people were like, "I really want to play this game."
Yeah. I think that would be a fun setting.
Yeah, it had special rules. Like the combat was mostly about accelerating the human characters' frustrations to force them to leave the scene. Anyway, but yeah, back to
we'd have to dive deeper into the show to see if anything like that becomes apparent, because I didn't get that from
the first episode. You don't get it, but it would not surprise me to find out that there's a camera in the room. Is there a laugh track? I think there is.
No, I think I actually wrote down, no laugh track makes it feel more eerie. I noticed that at some point.
That probably is a factor about why it feels eerie. Yeah. People say laugh track, empty. But like there was a great 99 PI about canned laughter and the laugh track. 99 PI is 99% Invisible, the podcast that's almost as famous as Midnight Local. And they were talking about how canned laughter was almost never a thing. That there was like a machine that this person built that somebody would sit there and cue the canned laughter on set live, had tapes in it, and it was used on a few shows, but it was used only to supplement the live audience that was already there when they really couldn't fill the seats or when the audience didn't give like the 100% the reaction they needed. And that 99% of the laughter that people say is canned laughter is actually, it's the real audience. It's a real live audience that was actually laughing. And so I wonder if there was like a commitment to truth that since we can't have a live audience, there is no live audience. Laughter.
It was a choice. It was definitely a choice at some point. So, going back to your theory about like, your question, is it for dinosaurs? There is a nugget at the end of the pilot episode where they talk about how like they will always be the dominant species, and then he looks out the window and there's like a caveman like carving a wheel, and then he like cracks it over his head, and it's sort of like a yuck.
He turns it into a hula hoop.
Yeah, is it a hula hoop?
It's a wheel. Yeah. We think they're inventing the wheel, and he smashes out the middle and he starts hula hooping with it.
Hula hooping. Yeah. So that is a yuck to humans watching the show, I think.
Yep, definitely.
Or is it to dinosaurs saying, look at how stupid these other creatures are?
Well, I think it's a commentary on us thinking that we'll always be the dominant species. Like, our hubris. Just to verify here, Earl's a megalosaurus. Fran is an allosaurus. Robbie Mark Sinclair is a hypsilophodon. And Charlene is a protoceratops. Baby Sinclair is another megalosaurus.
And then the Triceratops you're thinking of is his boss.
Because
when his boss, there's a hole in the top of the boss's trailer, because every time he stands up quickly,
his head goes through.
Pokes
his buddy Roy is a Tyrannosaurus. Yeah, Bradley P. Richfield is a tri.
That's the one who's smoking the T-Rex, and his hands like can't possibly reach his mouth.
Monica de Vertebrae is the Brontosaurus, who is Fran's best friend that we only ever see from the neck up. And I think she might even be gay. That's the implication. Yeah. She's a feminist, and she wears like a head rag, if I remember. She wears like a do-rag kind of thing. I don't think they ever call her gay, but maybe she was the first gay character on an American sitcom.
I'm gonna have to watch an episode with her and give you I'll use my gaydar to see if I can scoop her out.
I mean, I don't think she's out in the show.
I know, but that's why I need the gaydar.
Yeah, but then
she's hiding.
That's celluloid closet stuff. Like there's definitely been gay characters on TV shows in the closet of the show before then.
There's also Unisauruses. Outside of the recurring characters, there are a group of dinosaur characters called Unisauruses, and they are customizable dinosaurs.
Oh, that's smart for like the production purposes. Like they could pull off a horn and stick this on and stuff. Gotcha.
Yeah, full-bodied, while others are hand puppets, and they come in different types.
Okay. Oh, yeah, the Unisaurus category. Blarney, Gary, Henry.
Yeah.
Henry Poupon.
There is an LGBT rights episode that's somewhat famous.
Oh, yeah?
But I don't think it's because there's a gay character. I think it's undertones. I think there's some other thing. And it might be the episode where Robbie is like a vegetarian or trying out vegetarianism.
Okay.
And his dad is like, absolutely not. That might be the episode that I'm thinking of.
You know, it's possible to get nutrition from vegetables. Uh-oh.
Well, it's happened, Franny. The Green Menace has crept into our very home.
Robbie isn't one of those radicals.
There's one hiding under every bed, friend. Robbie, I'm going to ask you something. I'm going to ask you straight out. Are you now, or have you ever been an herbivore?
This is nuts. I don't have to answer this.
Oh, in the wiki, it says it right here. In the episode, I never ate for my father. In lieu of carnivorism, Robbie chooses to eat vegetables, which the show uses as a metaphor for homosexuality, communism, drug abuse, and of course the counterculture.
The blanket counterculture.
Yeah. You have to be a drug abusing commie to also be gay. They all go together.
That's how I got here.
Be gay and do communism.
And drugs. Do communism drugs.
Communal drugs.
How did we get here? Where are we?
We're off the rails again. Whoa. What a crazy show. I don't know how you got this made. I think that, like I've said many times, I think so much of television in the early 90s was powered by cocaine. And up through the early 2000s even.
Well, and according to reading I'm doing on the Wikipedia, hey friends, I'm going to just read the Wikipedia
I've done
page
it 5
to you.
times.
But The Simpsons got it made. They came up with this concept. They pitched it. Everyone's like, "Yeah, nuts."
Right.
The Simpsons came out, was a huge hit, and they're like, "Maybe you're not so
right.
nuts."
And they were competing with Fox. So this was ABC's Simpsons response. Got it.
I also feel like Jim Henson must have gotten to a point in his career where like anything he pitched got taken seriously by somebody.
Yeah. And I wonder, it's awful to say, but I wonder if like, you know, people are people. You know, Brian's dad had just died really unexpectedly. And maybe they were like, all right, we'll make your show.
Yeah. We should let people know where they can find, since we're talking about a lot of older stuff.
It's a good idea. If anybody wants to watch it, you can check it out on Disney Plus. That's where it is at if you want to watch those Dinosaurs.
Well, it makes sense because it was distributed by Buena Vista. Yeah. It was in association with Disney.
And ABC.
And it was on ABC.
I don't remember what year it happened, but I do remember it being a deal that Disney bought ABC at some point in my childhood. Mm-hmm. They'd always had a very close partnership. But at some point they just fucking bought it. They just bought up to ABC.
Were you going to say Kiddom?
No. Did it sound like I was going to? Maybe I was, and I didn't think of it.
I was curious. We were like, you said in my childhood, and I was wondering where that was going. In my kidhood.
My kidhood. I don't know.
I was just curious.
My mouth
you knew.
And my brain move at different speeds. Yeah. And I've also got the aphasia. Yeah. So sometimes I talk around words that I can't get to. I got the aphasia. I got a damage in my in the part of my brain for language. And sometimes I have to go all the way around words. That's one of my favorite things about, here we go again. Well, Poker Face, right? The show with the detective show. She has aphasia. And there's like, it's a thing that comes up like where she has to go through scenes or she goes around stuff to get to the word. Oh my God, I felt so seen by that.
Yeah, in the pilot, it's really prominent. There's the season 2 of that is in the works finally.
Good. Thank God.
Yeah, I like that show a lot.
Yeah, I got the epilepsy and I got the aphasia. They apparently go hand in hand. More things about Greg. How about you? You got any brain damage?
I got the ADHD.
You got that.
Mm-hmm. I have hyperfixation, those types of things.
Cool. Hot.
So that'll bode well for several episodes of this show coming out, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Listen, the internet's gonna love you, baby. You got the neurodivergency. They're gonna love you. They're gonna eat it up.
I just mean I will focus on this for as long as I can, and then I struggle. I get hyper focused.
Word.
Good times.
Do you remember Alf? Let's talk about other puppet shows.
Yeah.
Let's take a minute to talk about other TV shows with puppets. Alf?
Real quick, this is going to help lead into this. So the reason we started talking about dinosaurs, the reason we decided to do this episode is another angle we were thinking of for this show is like shows you forgot that you forgot. Yeah. And I think Alf is a great, why am I losing words? Example of another show that you forgot. But yes, Alf.
Yeah, so Alf, I can't forget Alf. For a number of reasons. But Alf aired from 86 to 1990. So it was a predecessor to Dinosaurs. And then there was this movie, Harry and the Hendersons, which is a ridiculous movie, insane.
With the Sasquatch.
Yeah, but it takes place in 87. And then there was a TV show spin-off of that. Yeah, and it aired in the early 90s. I'm trying to find out right now. 3 seasons.
Are you talking about things with puppets? Is that where this is
right.
going?
Yeah, just like, puppets? Is there a precedent for 91, Harry and the Hendersons TV show?
Land of the Lost.
Not really a puppet show in that regard. It was a rubber costume show.
Was it not?
No, that show is crazy. You talking about the revival from the 90s or the one from the 70s?
Yeah, where they like drive into the
Yeah. Oh, the 70s version was the same setup. It was just
that.
There was a 90s revival. I liked that show.
Like they drive into an earthquake and then they're in the land
of the lost. I remember the one where the kid was getting drunk on the fermented fruit.
That's not puppets.
They're people. I mean, it's mostly a human cast. I'm sure there are some puppets.
There's like that. Okay, no, yeah, I know it's like mostly a human cast, but so is Elf. But then you've got like once they get into the Land of the Lost,
I can't think of a puppet in Land of the Lost. No, there's a disgusting ape man that like is their pet that lives with them, and it just looks like a naked dude that they glued hair to and made scream in a diaper. It's horrifying.
No, that's awful.
Yeah, it's like hard to look at that creature.
Okay, all right,
but it's not a puppet; it's a person.
What about like, does Star Trek ever use puppets?
Infrequently.
Like the original?
No, almost never. I can't think of any examples. But I would say almost never. But the thing about Alf is, you said that people forget about Alf. Alf was my grade school's mascot.
How?
We had a Alf doll that was our mascot, and it wasn't just like looked like Alf, like was actually Alf. It was an Alf doll that you bought at the store. It was a giant, oversized stuffed Alf that you bought at the store. That their principal was an Alf super freak, loved Alf, made Alf the school mascot. We had Alf painted all over the place. And then, and I vividly remember this, but I've asked my friends if this happened, and they were like, I don't know, Greg, that might have happened. That doesn't sound insane, but I don't remember it. I remember this. We had a special assembly in our gym. And I think our principal, because of the Alf love and what happened that day, I think she might have worked with Henson at some point prior to being a teacher or whatever. I don't know. We had a special assembly when Jim Henson died, when we all went to the gym, and somebody from like the Jim Henson Company touring unit or whatever came and did Kermit the Frog and led us all in a school-wide singing of Rainbow Connection.
I hope that's real. I hope that's not just like a dream you had.
At worst, the most unreal it could be is that we did it with a tape and the teacher organized it, but I'm 99% sure there was a puppeteer there doing
Okay, I think I have 3 questions.
At least.
One, were you like, what was the name of your middle school?
Grade school, like elementary school.
Oh, elementary school.
We were not the Alf Memorial High. No, it was.
You were no, but were you like the Lincoln Elves? Like what was?
Grade schools don't have sports teams, so having a mascot was pointless. We just had a mascot.
Yeah, that's true. Grade school. I didn't have one. I guess we were the Blue Demons when I was in junior high. But yeah, okay, less questions, right? Because you don't.
Yeah.
For some reason, I understand
midstream
that
school. That was it. It was just midstreams because it was the name of the road it was on.
Were there pictures around school?
Well, like they always.
How did you know this was your mascot?
Oh, well, because the morning announcements every day, our principal would come on and do the morning announcements and tell us today's message from Alf. And also because elementary schools always have like paintings and bulletin boards. Alf was everywhere. Everywhere there was Alf. She was like an Alf freak. I'm pretty sure she had an Alf puppet that she would sometimes talk to us with.
Wow. We have to watch the pilot of Alf now. I don't
know. I think I'm a little traumatized.
All I remember about Alf was
he wanted to eat the cat.
He was an alien. He wanted to eat the cat.
He's from the planet Mermac.
Yeah. And he got stuck with this family. Yep. Is he ever trying to get home?
I think he's not, and the family really wish he would because they don't want him around. He's
right. He's always hijinks. Yeah,
he's just like really lazy. Like he won't get a job. He has no income. He wants to eat all their food. He wants to eat the cat. He leaves a mess everywhere. He's just like a terrible roommate from another planet.
Oh no, I have to watch this.
He was crazy. apparently there's a documentary about making Alf, and the guy who did Alf was out of his mind. He had to have the set built in special ways that nobody could ever see his body, and he could move from like one Alf to the next behind the set, and like, you know, like Alf's over here, okay, Alf's out, I'm crawling under the set, because think about it, it's a sitcom, it's a 3 camera, it's basically live, and now Alf's over here. He would do a whole thing where like before the show started taping and before any cast, he was like in his contract, I have to be on set before anybody so I can hide and nobody can see me.
That is, I mean, doing method acting as a puppet is like, that's a whole other level.
Method acting. I really thought you were going where my brain was, which going meth acting.
Method acting. No. Method acting. Well, we also ran into this when we did the Who Framed Roger Rabbit episode, because he would like walk around on set, like doing hijinks and talking in the voice, and like wearing the ears. And I remember the guy who was like the baby in an interview was like, if you expect me to dress as a baby on set, like no fucking way.
Seems unnecessary, guys. Also, like other puppet shows, Farscape, that was a Henson production as well, but that's much later. We're talking about precedents. I was just like thinking about precedents for there being a puppet sitcom that came before. Also, looking at the Alf Wikipedia, composer of the original theme music, Alf Clausen.
Okay, well, we're forgetting a really big one, which is Sesame Street.
Yeah, that's true.
And Fraggle Rock and
those
The
are all
Muppet
kids
Show.
Shows. And you're not wrong, but I feel like we're talking about primetime television for grown-ups with puppets.
Yeah.
But you're right.
That's why Jim Henson was a genius.
I have a vague memory of this puppet show where the puppets were running a haunted hotel. It was a Jim Henson show, and I feel like that was a nighttime show. But I only remember seeing one episode and really wanting to see more of it, and I've never been able to find any records of it. So maybe it was like a one shot of some other puppet anthology show that Henson was doing, and I didn't realize it was just like one episode.
There's puppets, but they're different kind of puppets. It's not people and puppets and like Mr. Rogers, but again, a kid's show. Yeah. You and I have talked about Zoobilee Zoo, which isn't puppets. It's like cosplay, which
it's
that's
the furry
a
show.
Whole thing.
It's the furry show.
Yeah.
There was some interview with
that ran for 1 year. Very
really?
Few.
That was only 1 year?
1 year. We are like the exact age to
so
remember
weird.
Zoobilee Zoo. It's like it didn't happen to anybody.
A lot of other stuff too. Like it was always local affiliate picked up, right? So it like wasn't broadcast by like the network out of New York City. So wait, let's talk about how television works. Broadcast television is like radio. It is radio. It is radio waves. And there was the network headquarters, which was either in LA or New York, and maybe Chicago had a couple of actual networks based there. But you know, you're talking about NBC, ABC, Fox, CBS. Like that's it. And I think there was one other at one point. And then they had affiliate stations. So unless you lived in the New York area, and I did, so we didn't have an affiliate. We listened to, broadcast literally from the top of the World Trade Center. Your affiliate station would pick up that signal from the main station and rebroadcast it. But they didn't have to rebroadcast everything that was coming out of the network. They could set their own schedule and be like, okay, well, we'll rebroadcast this hour to that hour and that hour to that hour, but then here we do the local news. We insert our own local news show that we produce locally, and over here we've got this kids show that we do locally, and over there we've got this other show that's pure syndication, which would have been actually I'm thinking about shows that went straight to syndication. Perfect example is Star Trek The Next Generation. That was paid for by your local affiliate station, paying for Star Trek The Next Generation and broadcasting it locally. To my knowledge, it didn't originate on any originally network system. It was all local affiliates. And so it's weird that you and I both saw Zoobilee Zoo, because as far as I know, that was a syndicated or local show that was not coming out of any major market that would have been rebroadcast coast to coast. And it only ran for one season. That's so weird.
Pretty sure it's a long season. It was like an ongoing thing, but technically I think it's just one.
But there was an interview I saw many years ago with one of the girls who was in it, and I guess she was at like
The Bird.
She was at some con or whatever, and they were asking her. Some interviewer asked her, like, what do you think about furries? Do you know what a furry, like, she's like, what's a furry? And then they were explaining it, and she was like, I guess I'm a furry too. And I was just like, oh, that's surprising.
Yeah.
That actually, those intentions really does change the context of the show.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Originally aired from 86 to 87.
Did you ever see Dr. Fad? Purely local show. Again, I mean, I think it came out of DC originally, and for some reason we had it at my local for a while. I was fucking obsessed with Dr. Fad. He was a Japanese American guy who had imported from Japan the wacky wall walker, which was this thing that you threw at a wall, and then because it had stickiness or suction cups, so it would go down the wall.
Oh, yeah.
And he had made a bunch of money doing that. And then he got a local TV show called Dr. Fad, which has the coolest opening of any TV show. I still love it. He's Dr. Fad. And he had a live audience, a theater. Imagine like Sally Jesse, you know, where you can see the audience. And it was full of kids. And they had brought inventions that thought that they were going to try and sell that could be a fad. It was like Shark Tank. And he would rate their fads. And it was kind of a game show, like, you know, which one was going to be, maybe we would put it into limited production and see if we could sell this thing.
Cool.
And then there was like the fad graveyard where he would talk about fads gone by that people aren't into anymore. I was fucking obsessed with that show. I wanted to be on Dr. Fad so bad when I was a kid. I loved Dr. Fad.
I love that. That sounds cool. I would have loved that as a kid. Yeah.
I was always like, I remember we had like an Electrolux vacuum from the 50s. That was our vacuum. Undestroyable Electrolux, and I was like trying to like turn it into some kind of an invention one day so I could be on Dr. Fad. I just like stuck some toilet paper tubes to it.
Yeah. You were doing that. I was trying to set up my house like Home Alone. I just thought like I was gonna create traps so no one could come into my room.
A lot of fear.
Which is really dangerous stuff, like taping staples to the floor. Scissors is horrible.
My mom made me watch America's 10 Most Wanted all the time, and also we had to watch Unsolved Mysteries, and those were terrifying shows as a child. And also, like, by that point, I saw, like, we've talked about this before on this show, I saw Return of the Living Dead when I was way too young. So I was, like, where my room was, like, the street was outside the window, and there was a traffic light. And I don't know, it was a very moody look. And, you know, after watching zombie movies and America's Top 10 Most Wanted and being 10, I was always afraid someone was going to come in and murder all of us. And I didn't want to make booby traps. I wanted to make sure that they didn't get me.
He like big neon sign, like, person in here, go to this room.
I thought about how ways I could hide and hope that their bloodlust would be satisfied with the rest of my family.
Yikes. Dark.
I should talk to a therapist about that.
But fair. Yeah. You're like, what gives me enough time? If I hear them murdering my family, I can get out the window and run away. Probably fair.
I don't know if that's all the way fair, but like, you know, I don't think anybody would have faulted an 8-year-old.
Survival instinct. Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't no commentary on your family, but like, when you're 8.
No, it wasn't like a survival. I mean, it was a survival instinct, but like, I wasn't going to be upset about it.
I like trying to let you off the hook. Like, it's not that bad. You're like, no, it was dark.
I mean, like, if I'm going to talk about shit that's wrong with me, that's fine. We can talk.
Like, this episode brought up a lot of stuff that we'd watched and forgotten, which I think is a fun, I don't know, that's the stuff that we really like to get to. I think we revel in sort of the like, do you remember this? We're nostalgia. We're nostalgic people.
Yeah, we are. Well, what do you think? Should we keep doing, should we switch to Alf? Should we keep doing TV? Should we keep doing Dinosaurs on Midnight Local?
Yeah, we can stick with the show. We can keep doing pilot episodes, which I think is kind of fun. Although then I think it would be interesting to like talk about what a pilot episode is, how it gets made, why it can be so drastically different from the television show, because pilots are sold in a different way than a buy for a TV show is.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
And things can change. Main characters can change. Like usually pilot episodes get reshot. That was a famous thing with Buffy. Like Willow was a whole other person. And yeah, there's a whole pilot episode shot with a different Willow. And then they reshot it with Elsa.
Or did they just reshoot her shots? Because they do that too.
I don't think they reshot the whole episode, but she's in a lot of the episodes. So a lot of it was reshot.
There's a really good show, Toast of London, which my wife and I adore. Sometimes the pilot is a totally different thing. And if you watch the first episode of Toast of London, you're going to be like, this isn't going to be that good. And like the actual show is fantastic, but you have to kind of get past the pilot. But what's really funny is they like took a long break from the show, and then they did Toast of Tinseltown. That season is fucking horrible, and I don't mind saying it. It's like really off, and it feels just like the pilot. It's like they forgot everything that worked, and just like
that happened.
Let's get back to that pilot we made, guys.
So we talked about X-Files in an episode that's either coming out after or came out before this episode, and Dinosaurs. I would say both of these pilots are very true to
to
the whole show, to the setup of the show. Yeah.
There's no weird flip-flop. Of course, a lot of times when there is that version of a pilot, you don't see it. Columbo. They shot 2 pilots of that, and they're totally different than what the show became. Like he's kind of cool in the first couple of pilots the first 2 pilots. They hadn't really arrived on him being kind of weird until the actual first episode, which was directed by Steven Spielberg.
Columbo's such a different television show because they are
movies.
Almost.
No, they are not almost movies. They are movies.
They're movies, and they're very different episode to episode, and they would go weeks, months, years between releasing seasons and episodes.
So Columbo episodes are 90 minutes long, and they were part of, to the extent that they were regularly on TV, they were part of the, I forget, an NBC Mystery Hour, or maybe it was ABC, whatever channel they were on, CBS. And they had 4 detectives. And so once a month you got a Columbo movie, and once a month you got a Miss Marple movie, and once a month you got a Poirot movie, I think, or some other detective, or maybe, no, you know what it was? It was, who's that lawyer? It was Perry Mason. It was Perry Mason was the other one. And then maybe Matlock started out that way too. But anyway, so it was a really cool idea of this anthology where you get a Columbo every month, and you get a this every month, and you get a that every month. And they allowed them to make movies, like full on, I mean, TV movies. They were producing them once a month, basically. Yeah, they could really do much more with those things. I thought it's a really cool idea. I don't see it ever having any kind of, there's no way to do it now, I guess. I guess you could. With streaming, you can do anything. There's no reason. There's no reason for streaming shows to be TV shows. You could just do one episode.
There's no segments,
one 90-minute streamed movie for this character every 2 months, and that could be the thing you do.
Chew on that, Netflix.
Chew on it, baby. And hire us to do it. One 90-minute how to drink movie a month. Yeah, I think that actually in that format, the wheel of detectives, they cycled a couple different characters through. I don't know why I felt like I needed to throw that out there.
We started on Dinosaurs and ended up on Columbo TV
and
detectives.
Pitching to Netflix. I'll be a puppet. If Netflix wants me to be a puppet or have a puppet sidekick, I am for it. I'm very for it because I love.
We've pitched it before for
I have.
ads and stuff.
I really truly love Pee Wee Herman and would love nothing more than to do alcohol infused Pee Wee Herman.
There you go. That's another
we could go THC. We could go THC Pee Wee Herman. I was at a bar or restaurant, a tavern the other day with my wife, and they had canned THC cocktails on the menu. 2 thoughts. They were like 5 milligrams each. One was 3, a couple were 5s. 2 thoughts on that. One, I can't believe you can just sell that, and I had to look it up because
how you get home?
I thought you had to be a dispensary to do that, but apparently with the canned ones, you can just have a liquor license, at least in New Jersey. Or maybe it's like a special rider on your liquor license. But 2, yes, I'll have this 5 milligram can and wait 90 minutes. Like it's not like drinking a beer where you're like, okay, that hit me quick. I don't know. It seems like a weird product to sell in a bar.
Just 90 minutes. I guess if you're like sitting and having a snack or something, that makes sense. But I thought usually like a half hour it starts to hit you.
They're all different, right? That's what they say. It says right on there, wait up to 2 hours for effects to happen.
Wow.
It says that on the gummies.
I would forget I even drank it in 2 hours, and then I'd be like, what's happening?
You might want to check your goldfish memory. That's not a good sign if you're forgetting. But yeah, everybody's a little different. True. But it does say up to 2 hours. I don't know. It also is like, it just seems like a weird thing to have at a bar. I don't know. I'm not opposed to it. I wonder if they're selling a lot of them. That's all.
Now we got from Dinosaurs to THC drinks.
We did it all the way.
All the way. All the way, May. So
we're on.
Are you closing us?
We gotta close. You want to close it?
No.
This episode has gotta fucking die. I'm hungry. We gotta get out of this thing. I want to go to lunch. I got lunch, baby. I got a tea time. I don't. We're Midnight Local, the podcast about this, and You can check it out.
You tell us.
Yeah,
what
tell us
about.
what you think this show is. It's every week. It's wherever you get your podcasts. You can subscribe to it on YouTube. Please do that because we got bills to pay.
We're back, baby.
We're back. Good night.